Rising tensions between the U.S. and Russia. President Obama is responding to Russia's alleged interference with the U.S. election process. He's promising to retaliate. However, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange was on the Sean Hannity show last night, and he said the source of the Podesta emails was not Russia.
Our source is not the Russian government.
So, in other words, let me be clear. Russia did not give you the Podesta documents or anything from the DNC.
That's correct.
Can you confirm whether or not you have information involving hacked info from the RNC?
We received about 3 pages of information to do with the RNC and Trump, but it was already public.
And joining me right now is the communications director for the DNC, Adam Hodge, joining us in Washington. Adam, good to see you.
Good morning,
Thank you so
Maria.
much.
How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining
Happy
us,
holidays.
Adam. And to you. What do you make of all of this? So Julian Assange comes on Fox last night with Sean Hannity and says it wasn't the Russians. In fact, he says it was an insider of the DNC. What's your take on this?
Well, I'm going to trust the CIA and our intelligence community, who were unanimous in saying that they thought that the Russians were behind the attack, and that's really what we've known from early on.
Let me ask you, Adam, congratulations on the new job. I know you were hired in September of this year, and I want to ask you about what you're trying to do here, because, you know, it feels like after what was such a contentious election, people are trying to figure out really where the American people are. And there's a debate about whether or not the DNC has gone too much to the left, talking about things that are actually not critical to the American people. I was trying to have this debate a few minutes ago with Christine Pelosi, actually, in terms of jobs. You know, that's what Americans want to talk about, job creation and opportunities. How do you convey a message of center or center-left even when it comes to the American people talking about what they want to hear about?
Well, I think that we'll continue to talk about the ideas that we talked about on the campaign, investing in education, infrastructure, investing in really key job training. Those are all important things, but we can't lose sight of what we just went through in the past election. You know, Russia did attack our democracy. We need a full, thorough investigation into what happened. We need to know the facts. We need to know exactly who knew what when. But everything that we've seen so far, including from the bombshell New York Times story this week, is that Russia clearly did this, and they did it to influence the election, and they did it to help Mr. Trump. And I think what should really this should not be a partisan issue. I think you and I can both agree on that.
Yeah.
And we should want to get to the bottom. We should want to know the facts. If the shoe was on the other foot and the Russians had hacked our democracy to help Hillary Clinton, everybody would be going crazy. So look, we need to get to the bottom of the facts. We need the answers. That's why I think it's important that when the members of Congress get back in session in January, they really need to look into this.
Let me ask you, Adam, how much responsibility do you believe Hillary Clinton should bear in this potential email leak, given her sloppy treatment of classified data?
Well, look, I have not seen anyone say that the Russians hacked her email server. So, I mean, I think the two things are completely separate. I think what is true is that starting in September of 2015, there was a sustained, relentless attack by the Russian government. These are not. This wasn't some 400-pound man in Jersey, like Mr. Trump likes to say. This really was, you know, men sitting in army fatigues in Russia, hacking into our democracy. That's really scary. That's really big stuff. And that's why I think we really need to get to the bottom of this, find out exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, what did happen? Because when you consider the fact that actually Hillary Clinton had a good relationship with the Russians. I mean, she tried to do a reset. Remember the famous reset? You know, she also had a deal with the Russian companies in terms of selling the uranium and then, you know, getting a major investment into the Clinton Foundation. So what went wrong? I mean, because she apparently had a very good relationship with the Russians at one time.
Well, I mean, I think the most important relationship is actually the one between the United States and the Russian government, and it's been clear over the last few years that Russia has taken a decidedly different turn, and it's the fact that they would then come and hack our democracy, try and influence our elections, sow division, sow fear with the American people, and it was clear it was one-sided. You know, you didn't see them releasing documents and emails from anybody on the RNC side.
They tried, though, right? I mean, they did try to break it, but they couldn't.
Well, no, but I think what we saw from the Wall Street Journal story yesterday is that the attacks on the DNC were far more sustained and far more relentless. And there's no question that they did it and to influence the election. Now, the real question is, you know, why isn't Donald Trump, who got the same intelligence briefing back during the campaign, why is he still trying to play it off as if he's willfully ignorant?
Yeah.
You know, the intel community has been clear. They told him the answers, and he's attacking them just because he doesn't like their answers. Now, the question, someone could say that it's just because he wants to wait till he gets in office. But when you think about all the ties that his team has to Russia, whether it's Carter Page, whether it's you know, Michael Flynn being a paid commentator for Russia TV, Paul Manafort. I mean, there was a server in Trump Tower went to Alpha Bank in Russia. I mean, you connect all those dots, and that's why we need to get the answers. That's why we need to ask the real tough questions.
Yeah, well, that's why. Well, let me ask you this, Adam, because I remember years ago I used to go to Russia a lot for their St. Petersburg conference every year, and every time I would go to Russia, and this was a time when Hank Paulson was Treasury Secretary, a lot of my sources in government told me, Maria, don't take your BlackBerry, because as soon as you get in Russia airspace, in fact, the officials within the Treasury were not allowed to take their BlackBerries every time they traveled to Russia.
The same is true for our colleagues that when I was in Treasury.
do not take your BlackBerry, because as soon as you enter Russian airspace, your information is wide open to the Russians. So if they've been, you know, trying to hack us or hacking us for years, how come just now, when we're hearing from President Obama that he wants to retaliate, how come we haven't heard any of this in the last 8 years?
You know, I think the president has been very direct and very clear with Mr. Putin when there have been opportunities to work together, like the Iran sanctions deal, and when their efforts are completely opposed to the core morals and ideals that we hold as Americans. So, you know, we've held them accountable where we need to, and I think that will continue throughout the remainder of this administration. The real question is what happens when Donald Trump becomes president, because he spent the entire campaign cozying up to Putin. We know he's got extensive business ties back with Russia. And we know that at the RNC convention, they changed the platform to make it more pro-Russia friendly. So the real tough questions that I think you'll have to be asking the Trump administration come January is what they're doing to soften our relationship with Russia. Is it just because he has a different view on policy? Maybe. Or maybe it's because he has extensive business ties back in Russia, and he's trying to make sure that nothing goes sour there. That's the real question you need to be asking.
We will ask the questions for sure, Adam.
I know you will, Maria.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Adam Hodge joining us there in Washington.